I want to go back to John 20. If you haven't had a chance to read it, please do. It's just really touching me, ministering to me, talking to me. It has for years. But John 20, Thomas has this face-to-face moment with Jesus. And we've all heard about it. This hands inside story. This encounter with the risen one. And what happened is when you read the story, Jesus shows back up. You know it, most of you, some of you don't, but you need to read it. And face to face, Thomas has to deal with his doubt. And his response is so cool. It's so important. He just simply responded by saying, "My Lord and my God." I want you to think about that. I don't know if we need to go any farther. His response was, he really didn't have to put his hand in his side. He really didn't have to put his finger through the holes in his hands. It was just, as soon as he was face to face with Jesus, he said, "My Lord and my God." See, Thomas had his doubts, and rightfully so. They could have just imagined it, that they saw the Lord. The stories that they were telling, they could have just dreamed it. They could have just been saying it. They could have just put a plan. I know Thomas is grieving, and so let's just tell him that we saw the Lord. It could be that it was someone who looked like Jesus. So it wasn't so much that Thomas, basically all he was saying was, did you see his hands? Did you see his feet? And I want to tell you that because in your life, people are going to question your experience with Jesus. They're going to question your encounter with Jesus. They're going to question your personal relationship with the Lord. They're going to question your belief in God. Because just the same reasons. It wasn't so much because he didn't have to see his hands and feet. It was just, give me more evidence. Did you see his nail prints? It could have just been somebody that looked like him. You could have just imagined. Did you see his wound in his side? So they're going to question. People are going to question your experience with the Lord. They're going to question your belief in God. And so what I think is so important is you need a my Lord story. You need a my God story. See, the thing that people want to hear in my life and in the lives of everybody is I want to hear my Lord stories. Where the power of a risen Lord was evident, where the authority of the Lord was evident, where the influence of the Lord in this situation was evidence, where it had to be God because it was superhuman. It was a supreme being. It had to be the creator of the universe or the ruler of the universe. People have their doubts. I've had my doubts. You've had your doubts. What we need is my Lord stories and my God stories. These stories where you had this personal my Lord moment or my God moment where it was obvious and clear the power of the Lord, the authority of the Lord, the influence of the Lord was evident in this situation, this circumstances in my life, in the change that took place or how everything turned around. And what happened in my mind and heart and soul. There had to be something superhuman and supreme in this situation because this isn't normal or natural. It can't be explained with the mind. And you don't even know how or exactly when because most miracles are private. When you get down to the bottom of this chapter, it says that Jesus did so many miraculous things with the disciples that aren't even recorded. They're not even mentioned. He explains that these things were written down so that we would believe. Some of these stories were written so that we would believe it. There is the truth to the story. But he said so many things that were miraculous. And that's the same way in our life. You need a my Lord story. You need a my God story. You need a my Lord moment, a my personal, my moment with God, my moment, just like Thomas's moment. Those moments are so important. And I just want to encourage you, and that's what you need to share, is those my Lord moments and my God moments. And you need to share those my Lord stories and my God stories, because they're what really is the evidence that he lives. It's the evidence that he lives. That you have a personal story to tell about the Lord of your life. You have a personal story to tell about the creator of the universe. You have a personal story to tell about the one that changed your whole life, like mine. They're personal, they're private moments, and they're so important because it settles it. It settles my God. He's my God. The conclusion of those moments, there's never again will you doubt that he lives. Never again. What I'm thinking about this morning is I can't imagine talking to Thomas after that, and Thomas telling me about his moment. Thomas telling me the story. I'm sure that the conversations that people wanted to hear, Thomas, I know where you were and I know how you felt, and tell me what happened. And that's where you and I are. Would you please share your my Lord story with someone? Would you share your my God story where there's no doubt about it? You encountered the Lord. You have an experience with God. Father, I thank you for these moments right here. They're private. They're personal. Where we just get to take a moment and just think about you and dwell on you and look at a moment in history that still impacts our lives today. I bless what you're doing in the lives of all of us that have ears to hear. And I pray that you'll open, Father, around the world, the eyes of our heart. And you would open, as we cry out, even the ears of our heart. That's our desire. Give us ears to hear and eyes to see, minds to comprehend, and hearts that understand. In Jesus' name, amen.